Welcome to another segment of Pearced Off, the counter-apologetics and general philosophy segment from myself, Jonathan M.S. Pearce, for the Skepticule Podcast. Today I'm going to talk about the Daily Mail, but not in a way I would usually talk about the Daily Mail. This is just a report of a YouGov survey that's taken place, carried out sort of by Lancaster University, about the demographics of religion and non-belief in the UK. And the Daily Mail says, among the over 60s of all races, there are nearly twice as many Christians as non-religious respondents, classified as nuns. The numbers are equal for those aged between 40 and 59, and for the under 40s, there are nearly twice as many nuns, 56%, as Christians, 31%. The survey of 1,500 people indicates a significant rise in the number of nuns since 2013, when they represented 37% of respondents. I'm just going to pause that for a second because I want to clarify that I'm not talking about nuns who wear a habit and go around or don't go around doing anything particularly useful and sit on their own in a nunnery. Nuns are the people who self-identify as having no religion. So to carry on a quote from the Daily Mail, the findings support the British Social Attitudes Survey, which found 51% reporting no religion in 2013, against a census of 2011, which reported a lower proportion. The results of the survey will be revealed on Tuesday by Linda Woodhead, a professor in the sociology of religion at Lancaster University, at a lecture titled "Why No Religion is the New Religion." And to pause again there, so she's actually quite well known in sociological circles, and you will have seen her possibly on TV and in interviews and whatnot. But she says that no religion is the new norm, and that there is every indication that its majority share will continue to grow. So she's sort of projecting a growing secularization, or at least a growing prevalence of religious nuns certainly in UK society. As she says, in terms of upbringing, no religion is particularly stiff. We can see that 95% of people with a no religion upbringing retain that identity, whilst 40% of those with a Christian upbringing lose a Christian identity. So that's really interesting. So there's a stickability of non-religion that is far outstrips that of religion, and I think that's worth looking into. I'd like to sort of ponder why that might be the case. I would say possibly we make cultural and familial and social inheritances of worldview, but that can last only so far as it fits in with surrounding culture and this prevalence of the internet use and scientific knowledge being shared with consummate ease. And I would say that's more challenging for the Christian and theistic worldviews than it is for the non-religious worldviews. To carry on quoting the Daily Mail article, but while the number of non-religious Britons is on the rise, it does not mean the country is full of atheists. Only 13% of nuns hold anti-religious views in the style of Richard Dawkins, and 11% consider themselves spiritual. So I just pause there again. Daily Mail had to get a bit of Dawkins baiting in there. But that's interesting because actually what is entailed by this label of no religion, and for many that doesn't necessarily mean that they are sort of a militant or a strident atheist. That can mean that they're still very spiritual, sort of new agey. They could still believe in some kind of pantheistic setup or whatever. So it's not necessarily the case that Britain is becoming more atheistic, although I would say that it probably is on balance. But I think I will concede that the term non-religious is probably more accurate and more interesting or complex than to just say, more atheistic. So that this idea that the non-religious can be people who, I wonder if it can even mean Christians themselves who give up a sort of religious Christianity but retain some kind of almost deistic Christianity or some kind of really nominal belief in this creator being, but don't adhere to any kind of religious organisation, if you like. So to carry on the Daily Mail, Professor Woodhead adds the rise of the nuns can be put down both to the fact that people have become less religious and that churches have become more so, creating a greater divide. She said, it used to be quite common for people to identify as Church of England simply because they were English, but now they're more likely to think of themselves as having no religion. So that is also interesting, this idea that many of the growing Christian churches in Britain are the evangelical, and they only have a very small place in modern Britain, thankfully, but they are these very, very fervent believers and evangelical, really far to the right, generally in most thinking, and I think there's a reaction against that, and with a lot of like the Church of England becoming particularly sort of nominal and not really meaning an awful lot, I think it's very easy for people from that church particularly to slip into a non-religious sort of worldview. It's not far, because actually most nominal Christians aren't Christian. Really, they don't do anything that really identifies as biblically motivated or inspired. So, when you say, why are you doing that, they won't start talking about the atonement or this or that they know from the New Testament. A lot of people self-identify as Christian, but actually they really aren't very Christian. In fact, I did a talk last week in Bournemouth, Skeptics in the Pub, and in the talk was a fundamentalist creationist, 6,000 year sort of creationist, young earther, who was very nice to me. He said, you know a lot about the Bible and this and that. And he said, we started talking about really a lot of people that say they're Christian aren't Christian. And he said, under one particular, and I'd love to get hold of where he got it from, but under one particular analysis from some evangelical society, they reckoned that only something like 5% of Christians were actually properly Christian. So really taking it seriously. And that's a hugely interesting statistic, which is actually quite relevant to this survey, this YouGov survey, and what Professor Woodhead was saying. But anyway, the point of bringing this up is just to really have a talk about it and to see what you guys think about British society, modern society, and where it's going to move and where it fits in with the other religions as well. Because actually the headline of the Daily Mail, which I didn't start with, was, is this the end of Christian Britain? Majority of white adults say they have no religion and the number is set to rise. So in fact, this seems more prevalent for white adults. So I wonder what that says about non-white adults, and whether there's sort of in black communities in Britain, whether Christianity is tenaciously holding on, whether in Asian communities and due to sort of different generations of immigration, whether Islam is still particularly prevalent, and therefore religious nuns, though there might be some, are far less likely to identify for fear of X, Y, and Z or whatever. I think there's a lot to be talked about within this context. Anyway, just thought I'd throw that out there. We are becoming more non-religious, it seems, which hopefully is a good thing. So I've been Jonathan M.S. Pearce. Question everything and drop by my blog. Cheers.